Shalom, my friends. Today, I am going to tell you something that will shock you. I am going to tell you something that goes against everything you have ever been taught. I am going to tell you that your kindness, the very thing you believe is your greatest virtue, might be the single greatest source of destruction in your life. Today, we are going to talk about the 8 ways that kindness will ruin your life. But first, I must ask you a question, and I need your absolute honesty in the comments below. Have you ever done something kind for someone only to have it blow up in your face, leaving you feeling resentful, used, and angry? Just write yes in the comments if you have ever felt the sting of your own kindness. Now listen, our mission here is to gather an army of 50,000 souls who are ready to stop being victims of their own virtues and start becoming masters of their spiritual power. If you are ready to join this army, subscribe to this channel now. It is your commitment to a life of true, effective, divine power. And if you are serious about transforming your financial reality, I have something special for you. For a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is closing soon. In this course, I unveil the full Torah wealth system, the same 3,000-year-old Jewish money laws that built dynasties, protected families, and created unstoppable prosperity. The link is in the comments. All right, let's get to the heart of this. The common enemy we are all fighting is not cruelty. It is not selfishness. It is a spiritual cancer I call destructive empathy. It is the misguided belief that kindness means always saying yes, always being nice, always avoiding conflict, always putting others first. This is a lie. This is not kindness. This is weakness. This is fear. This is self-destruction disguised as virtue. The hidden mechanism here is the cosmic battle between 2 of God's most powerful attributes, 2 of the Sephirot from the Kabbalistic tree of life, Chesed and Gevurah. Chesed is kindness, love, expansion, giving. It is the desire to pour out, to nurture, to embrace. It is Abraham who welcomed strangers into his tent. Gevurah is discipline, judgment, strength, restraint. It is the power to set boundaries, to say no, to make difficult distinctions. It is Isaac who dug wells and protected his resources. The Kabbalists teach that both of these attributes are equally divine. Both are necessary. Both are holy. The problem is not Hesed. The problem is not Gevurah. The problem is imbalance. The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has sold you a bill of goods. He has convinced you that Hesed is the only attribute that matters. He has told you that Gevurah is mean, that it is selfish, that it is unspiritual. He has weaponized your compassion against you. And so, you live a life of unbalanced Hesed. You are a flood of kindness with no banks to contain it. And a flood does not
nurture. A flood destroys, it drowns, it erodes, it leaves devastation in its wake. The Zohar teaches that when Chesed and Gevurah are in balance, they create Tiferet, beauty, harmony, truth. But when they are out of balance, they create chaos. The cost of living a life of unbalanced Chesed is the complete and utter ruin of your finances, your relationships, your energy, and your soul. You become a doormat. You become a victim. You become a martyr. And you call it virtue. I know this from personal experience. Early in my career, I had a business partner who was a brilliant visionary, but a terrible manager of money. He was constantly making reckless decisions, putting the company at risk. He would invest in projects without doing due diligence. He would spend money we didn't have on things we didn't need. He would make promises to clients that we couldn't keep. And I, in my misguided kindness, would always bail him out. I would cover his losses. I would make excuses for him to our investors. I would work 80-hour weeks to fix his mistakes. I would tell myself I was being a good partner, a good friend. I was being kind. But I wasn't being kind. I was being a coward. I was afraid of the conflict. I was afraid of hurting his feelings. I was afraid of being the bad guy. I was afraid that if I confronted him, he would leave and I would be alone. So I enabled his dysfunction. I became an accomplice to his self-destruction. And my kindness almost drove our company into bankruptcy. We were millions of dollars in debt. Our investors were threatening to sue us. Our employees were quitting. I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. It almost destroyed my life's work. It almost ruined me. And the worst part? I was destroying him too. I was preventing him from growing up, from taking responsibility, from becoming the man he was capable of being. Now, let me show you the Torah's blueprint for true, effective, divine kindness. It is the story of King Saul. The prophet Samuel gives Saul a direct command from God. Go and utterly destroy the nation of Amalek, a nation that represented pure evil, a nation that had attacked the weak and vulnerable of Israel when they left Egypt. This was not a suggestion. This was a divine command. But Saul, in his misguided kindness, spares the king, Agag, and the best of the sheep and oxen. He thought he was being merciful. He thought he was being kind. He thought he was being more compassionate than God. But what was God's reaction? He rejected Saul as king. He said, "You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel." Saul's kindness was not a virtue, it was a sin. It was a rebellion against God's will. It was a failure to use Gevurah, the power of judgment, to eradicate evil. And what was the consequence? The Amalekites continued to be a thorn in Israel's side for generations. Saul's kindness to Agag was cruelty to the innocent people who would suffer at the hands of Amalek in the future. This is the principle. Kindness to the cruel is cruelty to the kind. When you are kind to evil, you are being cruel to good. When you enable dysfunction, you are harming the innocent. True kindness is not the absence of judgment. True kindness is the application of the right judgment at the right time. It is having the courage to say, "This is wrong, and I will not support it." My personal breakthrough came when I finally understood this principle. I was on the verge of losing everything because of my partner's recklessness. I was praying, I was crying, I was begging God for a miracle. And my rabbi said to me, "The miracle is not going to come from heaven. The miracle is in your hands. You have the power of Gevurah. Use it." I realized that my kindness was not helping my partner. It was enabling him. It was preventing him from facing the consequences of his actions. It was destroying him, and it was destroying me. So, with a heavy heart, I did the hardest thing I had ever done. I sat him down and I told him, "I love you, but I can no longer work with you. I am buying you out of the company." It was a painful, brutal conversation. He was angry. He was hurt. He accused me of betrayal. He said I was greedy, that I was selfish, that I was abandoning him. And part of me wanted to back down, to apologize, to make it all go away. But I held firm. I used gevura. I set a boundary. I said no. And it was the kindest thing I could have ever done. It forced him to confront his demons. He hit rock bottom. He lost his apartment. He had to move back in with his parents. And in that darkness, he finally saw the truth. He got help. He went to therapy. He learned how to manage money. He turned his life around. He is now a successful entrepreneur in his own right, running a thriving business. And he called me a year later and said, "Thank you. You saved my life. If you had kept enabling me, I would be dead or in jail right now." And the company? It thrived. Within 2 years, we had paid off all our debts. Within 5 years, we had tripled our revenue. I had learned that true kindness is not about being nice. It is about doing what is right, even when it is hard. It is about loving someone enough to let them fail, to let them hurt, to let them grow. Now, let me give you the 8 ways that your misguided kindness is ruining your life. This is the practical application of the battle between Hesed and Gevura. 1. It makes you a liar. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you are lying. You are lying to the other person, and you are lying to yourself. You are creating a life built on a foundation of inauthenticity. And a life built on lies cannot stand. The Torah commands us, distance yourself from falsehood. This includes the lies you tell out of misguided kindness. When you pretend to be happy to help when you are actually resentful, you are living a lie. And that lie will poison your soul. 2. It creates resentment. When you give from a place of obligation, not from a place of genuine desire, you are planting a seed of resentment. You secretly expect something in return: gratitude, appreciation, reciprocity. And when you don't get it, you become bitter. Your kindness becomes a poison that infects your relationships. The Talmud teaches, a gift given with resentment is worse than no gift at all. It is better to say no with a clear conscience than to say yes with a bitter heart. 3. It enables evil. When you are kind to people who are behaving destructively, you are not helping them. You are enabling them. You are co-signing their dysfunction. You are becoming an accomplice to their self-destruction. The Talmud teaches, he who is kind to the cruel will ultimately be cruel to the kind. When you enable an addict, you are helping them destroy themselves. When you cover for a liar, you are helping them deceive others. When you bail out an irresponsible person, you are helping them avoid the consequences that would teach them responsibility. True kindness is having the courage to say, "I love you, but I will not support this behavior." 4. It destroys potential. When you shield people from the consequences of their actions, you are robbing them of their greatest opportunity for growth. Pain is a teacher. Failure is a feedback mechanism. Your kindness is interfering with God's curriculum for their soul. The Kabbalists teach that every soul comes to this world with a specific tikkun, a specific correction to make. And that correction often comes through struggle, through failure, through pain. When you protect someone from that pain, you are preventing their soul from completing its mission. You are stealing their destiny. 5. It makes you a slave. When your life is driven by the desire to please others, you are not free. You are a slave to their opinions, their moods, their demands. You have given them the key to your own happiness, and they will lose it. The Torah says, "You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." Holiness means separation. It means having boundaries. It means knowing where you end and where others begin. When you live to please others, you have lost your holiness. You have lost yourself. You have become a slave. 6. It violates divine justice. The Kabbalists teach that every soul has its own journey, its own tikkun, its own correction to make. When you interfere with that journey out of a misguided sense of kindness, you are playing God. You are disrupting a divine process that is far beyond your understanding. God has a plan for every soul. And sometimes that plan includes suffering, includes failure, includes consequences. When you try to rescue someone from their divinely ordained consequences, you are not being kind. You are being arrogant. You are saying, "I know better than God what this person needs." That is not kindness. That is hubris. 7. It exhausts your resources. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you are constantly giving your time, your energy, your money to others, without replenishing your own resources, you will burn out. Your kindness will lead to your own physical, emotional, and financial bankruptcy. The Torah commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves, not more than ourselves, as ourselves. This means that self-care is not selfish. It is a divine commandment. You have a responsibility to take care of your own soul, your own body, your own resources. If you don't, you will have nothing left to give. 8. It makes you despise the people you help. This is the most insidious and tragic consequence of all. When you give and give and give from a place of unbalanced chesed, you will eventually come to despise the very people you are trying to help. You will see them as leeches, as parasites, as a drain on your life. Your kindness will have turned to hatred. I have seen this happen so many times. The mother who enables her adult child becomes bitter and resentful. The business owner who can't fire a bad employee becomes angry and frustrated. The friend who is always the giver becomes cold and distant. Your unbalanced kindness will destroy the very relationships you are trying to preserve. Let me tell you about two people who learned this lesson. Story number 1. Sarah. Sarah was a mother whose adult son was addicted to drugs. She was constantly giving him money, bailing him out of jail, letting him live in her house. She thought she was being a kind, loving mother. But her son was only getting worse. She finally learned the principle of Gevurah. She told her son, "I love you, but I will not give you another dollar. You can't live here anymore. You need to get help." It was the hardest thing she had ever done. Her son was furious. He said terrible things to her. But a month later, he hit rock bottom and checked himself into rehab. He is now sober, has a job, and has a healthy relationship with his mother. Her unkindness saved his life. Story number 2. David. David was a business owner who had an employee who was constantly underperforming. David was a nice guy. He didn't want to fire him, so he kept giving him second chances, third chances, 10th chances. But the employee's poor performance was dragging down the whole team. The company was suffering. David finally learned the principle of Gevurah. He sat the employee down, gave him a clear warning, and when the behavior didn't change, he let him go. The team's morale skyrocketed. The company's performance improved. And the employee? He found a different job that was a much better fit for his skills, and he is now thriving. David's unkindness was a kindness to his company, to his team, and even to the employee he fired. Now for the advanced application. The Level 2 hack is to understand that the ultimate act of Gevurah is applying it to yourself. It is setting boundaries with yourself. It is saying no to your own destructive impulses. It is having the discipline to do what is right, not what is easy. When you can apply Gevurah to yourself, you will become a master of your own soul. Let me give you 3 advanced strategies for practicing balanced kindness. Strategy number 1, the 24-hour rule. When someone asks you for something, and your first instinct is to say yes out of fear or obligation, tell them, "Let me think about it and get back to you tomorrow." This gives you time to check in with yourself, to pray, to discern whether this is true kindness or destructive empathy. Most of the time, when you give yourself 24 hours, you will realize that the answer should be no. Strategy number 2, the mirror test. Before you do something kind for someone, ask yourself this question. If the roles were reversed, would I want them to do this for me? If the answer is no, if you would not want someone to enable your dysfunction, to shield you from consequences, to prevent you from growing, then don't do it for them. The golden rule applies to Gevurah as well as Chesed. Strategy number 3, the fruit test. The Torah teaches us to judge a tree by its fruit, and this applies to your kindness as well. Look at the fruit of your kindness. Is the person you are helping getting stronger or weaker, more responsible or less responsible, more independent or more dependent? If the fruit is bad, your kindness is misguided. True kindness produces good fruit. It produces growth, strength, responsibility, independence. Let me address the three most common objections. Objection number 1. Rabbi, isn't this selfish? My response: it is the opposite of selfish. True selfishness is being a coward who is so afraid of conflict that you enable the destruction of others. True kindness is having the courage to do what is right, even when it is hard. It is caring enough about someone to tell them the truth. It is loving them enough to let them face the consequences of their actions. The Talmud teaches, "Who is strong? He who conquers his inclination." It takes strength to say no. It takes courage to set a boundary. That is not selfishness, that is holiness. Objection number 2. Rabbi, what if they hate me? My response: they might. And you have to be willing to be hated for doing the right thing. The approval of God is more important than the approval of man. And in the long run, the people who truly matter will respect you for your strength, for your integrity, for your courage. I have learned this lesson over and over again. Every time I have set a boundary, every time I have said no, every time I have applied gevura, there has been initial anger, initial resistance. But over time, those same people have come back and thanked me. They have said, "You were the only one who loved me enough to tell me the truth." Objection number 3. Rabbi, how do I know when to use chesed and when to use gevura? My response: this is the art of life. And the only way to learn it is through practice, through prayer, and through the study of Torah. But here is a simple rule of thumb. If your kindness is making the other person weaker, more dependent, more irresponsible, it is not kindness. It is destruction. If your kindness is making them stronger, more independent, more responsible, even if it is painful in the short term, it is true, divine kindness. And here is the deeper spiritual truth. From a Kabbalistic perspective, when you practice balanced kindness, when you integrate chesed and gevura, you are creating tiferet, beauty, harmony, the attribute of Jacob. You are becoming a channel for the divine balance that holds the universe together. You are participating in the very structure of creation. This is not just about being a better person. This is about becoming a partner with God in the work of tikkun olam, the repair of the world. From a neuroscience perspective, when you practice saying no, when you set boundaries, you are strengthening the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control, decision-making, and willpower. You are literally rewiring your brain for strength. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The first no is the hardest. The 100th no is effortless. So, here is my 7-day challenge to you. For the next 7 days, you will practice the art of balanced kindness. And I want you to know